This video will walk you through how to complete step 6 of Excel project number 2. So step number 6 says to prepare an amortization table for the installment note just like the one on exhibit 10-14, page 415. Okay, the first thing that I did just to save some time was I went ahead and typed in the titles according to page 415. Okay, you can see that my titles don't look very professional. They're running into each other. So the first thing we want to do is to go ahead and highlight those titles, and we're going to change some options on those. So find the home button up at the upper left hand corner. The first thing that we probably want to do is wrap the text. That tells the system to go ahead and just wrap it around and keep it all in one cell. The next thing that we want to do is to go ahead and center it. So again, up at the upper center of the screen, go ahead and tell the alignment to be centered. Okay, and finally we're going to go ahead and bold it. So more towards the left, you can see there's this B for bold. Okay, it looks better, but it's still not quite right. So what we want to do is change the column width here. So highlight cells B through G, or whatever cells you have for your titles, and go ahead and adjust the column width. You can do that by selecting in between any one of these highlighted columns. Just go ahead and tell the system, click on your left mouse button, hold it down, and scroll over until you find a good amount of space. Okay, this will align all of those 6 columns exactly the same width. The next thing that we want to do is to go ahead and type our period end. So it's going to be 12/31 of 2010, okay, 12/31 of 2011, okay. Okay, and it told us that our year end was going to be 12/31/2019. The next thing that we want to do is to go ahead and start with the beginning balance. And it says up here to use only formulas. So anytime that we're using numbers, I want you to focus on using formulas. Okay, so to use formulas, go ahead and hit that equal sign. Okay, and it says the principal up here that we typed in the grade I5 cell is our principal. So go ahead and set equals, find I5, click enter. Okay, you've got your beginning balance. The next one is interest expense. We know that interest expense is computed by taking that balance times our interest rate. So go ahead and hit equals. Use your mouse to select cell C13 or the beginning balance. Go ahead and hit Shift 8 to get the star button. That's the multiplication. And then go ahead and tell the system to use the interest rate in I6. Okay, the reason we're using formulas is if we want to change any of these rates or principal later on, the table will automatically format those changes for us. Okay, the reduction in note payable, the fourth column, we can't do until we get our cash payment. So under cash, we want to go ahead and say equals. This is the amount of payment we calculated in step 5. So go ahead and tell it we want it to take from cell I8. And hit enter. And now we can go back and tell it, okay, the amount of reduction in notes payable equals the amount of cash payment, cell F13, minus the amount of interest expense that the bank is going to keep. Okay, cell D13. Hit enter. Okay, that's the amount of principal that is going to be reduced by this payment. Okay, and then finally in the ending balance, okay, we want to tell it equals, that's the beginning balance, less the reduction in principal that we just computed. Okay, hit enter, that's giving you your ending balance. Okay, so that's for the first row. The second row we're going to modify one line item, and then we can go ahead and just copy our formulas down. So the beginning balance in 2011 is the ending balance of 2010. So how we tell the system to do this is we say equals, and go up and find that ending balance with our mouse. So G13. Hit enter. Again, if you do anything wrong in Excel, just go ahead and hit the escape key, or you can type over your error. Okay, at that point, And this is a good formula because it's just always telling us to grab the prior year. So we can go ahead and copy this formula down. Okay, there's a couple of ways that you can do that if you're comfortable with Control C and Control V. You could copy and paste, or you could click your right mouse key and do a copy and then highlight the cells and do a right click and paste. Okay, or my favorite way is just to go ahead and use this tiny little box here. Okay, if you double click on that box, it's just going to pull the formula all the way down for us. Okay, the next column was computing interest expense. It took the amount in column C and multiplied it by 6%. Now we have to adjust this formula just slightly, because if we copy this down, what it's going to do is it's going to take the column B information, but then it's going to drag down the amount. So it's going to take, it would basically take cell G13 times I7 instead of I6. So what we want to do is, up in this first row, we want to tell it to always stay on cell I6 for interest. So how we do that is we insert dollar signs before the I and before the 6. That tells the system that we always want it to compute interest based on this specific cell. So now when we hit enter, our formula has been adjusted. We can recopy over that error, and now our formula will always take the amount in column C times cell I6. Okay, note payable, that just took the cash payment less interest expense, so columns F minus columns D. We can go ahead and copy down that formula. And as you can see, we're going to get some erroneous data, but that's okay. Once we complete the table, it will all self-correct. Okay, the cash payment, again, this came from the grade box, and we want to tell the system to always pull from that specific I8. Okay, so if we double click on that, or you could go ahead and go up to the formula bar and put a dollar sign before the I and a dollar sign before the 8. Hit enter. That's going to tell it always to grab from I8. We can go ahead and copy it down. Okay, and then finally we need to go ahead and finish this ending balance. The ending balance just told us to go ahead and take the data from C13 minus E13. If we copy it down, it's going to just copy that formula down, always taking from column C and column E. Okay, when we're completed there, we can see that our ending balance is 0. If we wanted to play with our numbers, let's say that instead we were going to get an 8% interest rate, go ahead and type in 8, and you can see that all the amounts just adjust. Okay, it's all automatic. This is the great thing about Excel. We can change the amount of principal. Everything just automatically adjusts. So this is the real benefit of using formulas. The last thing that you want to do is just go ahead and change the page layout. So under the page layout up at the upper left-hand corner, change the orientation to landscape. Okay, that lets us print all on one page. Okay, at this point you've completed your Excel project number 2. If you have any questions, never hesitate to contact myself or the Tutoring Center.